Coming up, Disney acts as a Star Wars project while Lucasfilm gives it the okay. Zip Air begins non-stop flights from Orlando to Tokyo, and we discuss classic Universal Studios Florida. All that coming up this week on the Theme Park Land podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 15 of the Theme Park Land podcast. I am your host, Matt Dobrovolsky, joined as always by my lovely and talented co-host, Matt Rogers.
Thank you for the talented adjective.
Oh, but you're thankful for the lovely one.
Yeah, I like that one. Welcome, everybody. We have a very slow news week for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got a couple of news stories in there, but it was more of like a... You know, we spent like the last 30 minutes trying to talk about a discussion topic.
But, no, we got a good topic. We're going to talk a little bit about Classic Universal based on my trip yesterday. Yeah. But we'll get to that later.
But do you also realize 15 episodes? Yeah.
It feels like 5 years already.
Yeah. It feels like we've been doing this for a long time now. But only 15.
Again, we know we have like 2 listeners, but please.
Hey, maybe we're up to 3.
Maybe. Please let us know what you want to hear. If we're going a particular direction and you like it, please let us know. Your feedback is invaluable. The last thing we want to do is write or produce episodes that are just not interesting.
Yeah, and in Disney Universal, if you're listening, or any other theme parks out there, give us news stories that we can keep talking about, so this way we actually have a podcast. I mean...
I think it's up to us to be creative.
Well, yeah, it is up to us to be creative, but we also need news stories. Mainly because we're going to dive right into our first news story of the week, which I've been wanting to talk about for the last few days. And this isn't even theme park related, it kind of...
It's driving him up a wall.
It's driving me up a wall. We're going to have a rant, all right? We're really going to have a rant here. Because, yes, this does affect the studio industry. However, this is something that can also be theme park related because it's all about creativity. So, let's discuss this. In a recent sit-down with the Associated Press, Adam Driver, who in the Star Wars universe obviously is famous for playing Kylo Ren, said that over the span of 2 years, he and Steven Soderbergh, who was famous for doing Ocean's 11... and a couple of other projects out there, had developed a script called The Hunt for Ben Solo. The film would have taken place after the events of The Rise of Skywalker and followed Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, on a search for true redemption. They had gone on, they developed this script for the story. Both of them had pitched this idea to Kathleen Kennedy, who is the head of Lucasfilm, Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck, who are the heads of creative for Lucasfilm, who loved the idea. They did enjoy this script, but they knew that while they could have the say, Disney had to have the final say into this. So they took the script over to Disney, to Bob Iger and Alan Bergman, Alan Bergman obviously is the head of the studios. They both struck down the idea. They said, quote, "We presented the script to Lucasfilm, they loved the idea. Then we took it to Bob Iger and Alan Bergman, and they said no. They didn't see how Ben Solo was alive, and that was that." Lucasfilm had declined to comment on all this, other than the fact that they did enjoy the script over there. Here's my thing. So, you're telling this story to the creative heads of the franchise. And they're saying, we accept this. We think this is a great idea. Let's move forward with this. But let's just... First, we got to present this idea to the people that are going to give us the money for it, obviously. Bob Iger and Alan Bergman basically said no because, we don't see how Ben Solo could still be alive. Well, clearly Adam and Steven had this idea that they saw worked that would show that Ben was still alive, and the Lucasfilm creative people understood that idea. My thing is this. How is it okay that we are approving Toy Story 5 and we can't approve something as somewhat original as this? Okay? Yes, it is based on a franchise that, is basically being tapped out to a point in terms of the Skywalker saga with 9 episodes already out there. But why is it that we just keep pulling out and the reasoning why the studios did Toy Story 5 is because Toy Story is a very successful franchise. So is Star Wars. Star Wars has literally made them billions upon billions of dollars. Here's an even crazier idea. Maybe this movie doesn't need to have a high budget. They could decrease the budget a little bit and send it to Disney Plus.
What have they produced in the Star Wars realm since Star Cruiser has closed?
I mean, more episodes of Mandalorian.
Is that profitable for them?
Oh, 100%. Because that's one of the reasons why The Mandalorian and Grogu is coming to theaters this Memorial Day. Because they know how successful that can be for the theaters, and that could bring in $1 billion. My thing is this. If the creative people believed this idea, why are we not moving forward with it? Why are and I'm using this term loosely, the bean counters saying no when they have no creative background? This is a dangerous, dangerous slope to be going down. And I mentioned at the top of this that, yes, this can be somewhat theme park related too. Because what if you had Imagineering coming up with this brilliant idea of a new ride for Epcot, right? Everyone in Imagineering believes in it. The heads of Imagineering are believing in it. All the creative fuels of the parks are believing in it. But then the bean counters are saying no.
That happened before.
It happened before. It was a very dangerous slope. Well, and I thought at one point we came out of that, but now it seems like we're going back to it.
The one I'm thinking of is one I learned about recently. In Disneyland, in New Orleans Square. There was a concept in the 90s to connect Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, and Tom Sawyer's Island in one lore, essentially, with John Lafitte, I think his name was. Like you have Lafitte's Landing, and then Lafitte.
Yeah, my wife would kill you if she's hearing you.
Well, she can correct me because she's from New Orleans. Anyways, but this dude was a pirate. Okay, he was an actual pirate, a historical figure, and so there's hints in Disneyland that at kind of like all three attractions that kind of link this together. And what they wanted to do in the 90s is they wanted to have like an underground pathway maze experience walkthrough that would take you from an area in front of Haunted Mansion to be like a secret cave. You'll go and you go under Rivers of America. You end up on Tom Sawyer's Island at a pirate cove, essentially, which would be, what is his name? Lafitte? Lafitte. This pirate dude. That would be like his headquarters in the bayou, which actually existed, but it would be like on Tom Sawyer's Island. But it was going to be an effort to make New Orleans Square an entirely story-driven, themed, immersive area. And the Imagineers had it all worked out, and Paul Pressler said no, and that was that. So this kind of stuff happens.
And again, Paul Pressler, who was famous for giving us DCA 1.0.
In my book, he is most notable for trimming budgets to the point where facilities maintenance was neglected, and this is in the mid to late 90s and very early 2000s, and this is actually a time frame when it wasn't a lot, but it's a lot when you look at industry numbers. People were getting killed at this park.
Yep.
Just due to neglect or due to silly things.
But this is what I also worry about on the studio's end as well, is that you're not giving these creative people their opportunity to shine. Here's a crazy idea for you. How about instead of cranking out these random projects that aren't generating money, if this was like Pixar, I'd be saying Lightyear, okay, because that was a flop, okay? I hate to say it, but Tron Ares, I loved the movie, but I think it was a flop, unfortunately. We need to sit down and realize that what could be successful and what would not be successful. Just because the bean counter says, I don't really like this idea. Sorry, Bob, you're not the creative one. That's why you hire the creative people.
I definitely see that. I
wonder
wonder if also it was a combination of like didn't like it, but also there's a ratio of like how much is the movie going to cost versus how much do we want to gamble, right? And I think looking into the future, because this is a concern for me, and I think it's going to be a concern for the entertainment industry, is the economy that we're kind of rolling into. What's going to happen next? So I wonder if this is the start of just some very cautious moves we're going to see.
What's life without a little risk?
I generally agree, but if the risk is spending, almost $1 billion on a movie budget.
I mean, I don't think this would cost them $1 billion.
Right, but like...
Avengers Doomsday is costing them
But the question is,
like,
if it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars to produce this movie,
is
it going to get that? And if it's not pretty guaranteed...
If that was the case, then I'll drop this rant right now. But it doesn't seem like that is it. This is Bob Iger saying, I don't like this idea. He's done this before. The live-action Hunchback of Notre Dame was actually gaining steam. But he shot that down saying, that's not very Disney-related.
I think...
There's a lot of projects that are out there that are not Disney-related. That's why we had like the Touchstone Pictures end of the company in the 90s that was producing these PG-13 rated films. Look at Fox. You're trying to claim that Avatar is Disney? That is a PG-13 rated movie. And there's a lot of adult stuff in there that I would never consider to be Disney related. So why not bring Hunchback of Notre Dame out under the Fox envelope? Done.
I think for now it's definitely an anomaly and an eyebrow raiser, right? But I think we have to wait for a few more things to happen, like a few more decisions like this to happen before we say it's a pattern.
Yeah.
And that'll give us a good idea of what's driving it, right?
Because here's the thing. There are a lot of fans that are out there that are truly outraged over this. I think it was a day or two after this news broke, someone actually flew a banner over the studios in Burbank saying, save hashtag the hunt for Ben Solo or whatever.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you saw this one. I'll have to show it to you. Someone put up missing pictures on the lamppost outside of the studio saying missing, and it's a picture of Kylo Ren saying, have you found me? And then on the bottom it says the hashtag the hunt for Ben Solo.
I think it's an anomaly for now, and it's definitely interesting. I think wait a little bit and see what other decisions are going to be made, because I think we're at the beginning of an economic turn, and I don't think it's a good one. And I think I could see corporations taking less of a gamble on something if it's going to be expensive and they're not sure what the economy is going to do. I think that's fair. I just think we have to wait a little bit and see what other decisions are going to be made.
I hope they're confident in Toy Story 5. I'll tell you that much.
It's already rolling.
I know. I still can't believe that's a thing.
And maybe it's too deep in production now that they have to, right? Maybe they've invested too much.
Well, I mean, everyone's recorded their lines or whatever. They've done the animation.
Yeah, they're very invested in it.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
far.
I think they're probably almost into post-production by now.
Yeah, so it's
on that.
It's a wait and see before we figure out what's actually happening.
It's a wait and see, but what I'm hopeful for is that with this push from the fans, maybe this will be a fan movie that is built.
And maybe
then maybe Bob Iger can look at this and say, wow, there are a lot of fans that actually really want this. Let's run the numbers. Oh, wow, we could probably make a lot of money out of this. Let's do it.
Because I could also see the perspective of somebody who's not as somebody who I don't really care about Star Wars. If there was never another Star Wars movie, it's okay. Like to an average moviegoer like me, there's been a lot of Star Wars movies. You know what I mean? It's okay if we don't have any more.
It is
right?
not necessarily about Star Wars. I mean, and I'm not trying to make this about Star Wars. I'm not that 50-year-old virgin nerd that lives in their parents' basement saying, you didn't put out this new Star Wars project, this would have been, Kylo Ren's redemption or whatever. I'm not trying to say that. I'm saying that this is a very dangerous slope that it seems that we're going after, where everyone in creative is okaying the project, but then the bean counter says no, because they don't think, they don't see how the story can be when the creative people clearly understand it.
Time will tell on this one.
Time will tell. All right, our second news story. Zip Air.
Who?
So this is an airline that is kind of primarily based out of Japan. Will be launching nonstop flights from Orlando to Tokyo beginning February 23rd and going through at least March 10th, but more dates could be announced afterwards. 4 nonstop flights will be going back and forth each day between Narita International Airport and Orlando International Airport. Again, it's beginning February 23rd and running through March 10th. However, they are expecting to add more dates after that. Ticket sales will begin in early December of 2025. And we were actually kind of looking at these guys when we flew out to Tokyo in 2023. They are a budget-friendly airline. I would maybe go so far as to compare them to Spirit or Frontier, but maybe with the service level and quality, if you will, of like Delta or United. But it is more of a pay-as-you-go airline. You can basically pay for your seat, and then anything else that you want to, bags, food, amenity kits or whatever, you would pay extra for those. They also do have business class seats, so the lay flat beds. Again, as a pay-as-you-go type of experience. So you can pay for that business class seat, and then, you want a meal, you can pay a couple extra bucks for that. You want an amenity kit, you can pay for that. You need to check a bag, that'll be this price. So it is a budget-friendly airline. However, it's pretty big here because this is a nice connection for us now to Tokyo. And I would hope that this is going to kind of help boost tourism to Japan and likewise boost tourism to us as well, having that option to there. Prices are somewhat reasonable. I looked at, obviously we can't see what the price is from Orlando to Narita yet, but if you're looking at flying from Los Angeles to Narita in those business class seats for about 2 people, it's about $5,000, whereas you could pay about that much for 1 business class seat on Delta. So yeah, the price is very high, but for a business class seat on a 12-hour flight like that, it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. I hope that this will boost the tourism. And, like I said, I hope it does provide a budget-friendly means of getting us out to Tokyo. Maybe I can get out to Tokyo a little bit more often and see Tokyo Disney. So if you are looking for that cheap way of getting out to Japan and you're in the Orlando area, there you go. It's coming for you.
Interesting. I mean, I'm not flying anytime soon, but maybe at some point.
And that's a long flight. Like, you thought that flight to Los Angeles was long for you. I mean, from Los Angeles to Tokyo, it's 12 hours. From here, I would have to guess it's at least 14.
Hear me out. Teleportation.
Yeah. If teleportation is actually invented by the time we're on our deathbeds, I owe you a Coke.
Anyways, next.
Next news story. You brought it up earlier that this is Six Flags America's last week of operation.
Oh, yeah.
You forgot what you
mentioned it a few times in previous episodes. Six Flags America is a Six Flags theme park, amusement park, whatever you want to call it, right next to Washington, D.C. Six Flags is closing it this weekend, and that's going to be the last of its operation, at least as a Six Flags park, most likely in any capacity as an amusement site, because they'll probably get a really good real estate offer for the property.
Unless you're Six Flags Jazzland in New Orleans, that is still just sitting abandoned.
They need housing around that area, and the area keeps blowing up with housing, so we'll see. That was my home park growing up, even though I didn't go that often. I usually went to Hershey because Six Flags never really invested in this park, but...
They just have the typical roller coasters over there, right? Like the Batman roller coaster.
No, this park actually has some history behind it. Before it was Six Flags, it was Wild Adventures. It was actually a safari park. Before that, it was just a water park or vice versa, something like that. But it used to be called Wild Adventures. It was a safari park right next to Washington, D.C. So what's really stand out about this park in the amusement community is one of their rides is called Wild One. And it is the oldest operating roller coaster in America. It's over 100 years old.
And yet it's going to be closing this week.
Yeah, no, it was relocated.
Do you think they'll scrap those parts too?
Well, it's already been relocated once. It was relocated, I think, in the 80s from Paragon Park. It was the giant coaster. In this economy, in the shape that ride's in, I don't see it getting relocated. I can tell you Six Flags America did not take pristine care of their rides. But... I think that's going to be the biggest loss in this park. It is a smaller park. It's just a shame Six Flags never really invested in it in order to compete with the nearby King's Dominion or Hershey Park, when it really could have been something special. And now that it's Six Flags and Cedar Fair have merged, King's Dominion is now part of Six Flags Entertainment Corporation as well. So there's no reason to invest in this park, and that's why it's closing. Because everybody there can just... if they want to go to a Six Flags park, they can go up to New Jersey, Great Adventure. If they just want to go to another nearby park, they can go to King's Dominion in Virginia as well. There's no reason to invest in this park from Six Flags' perspective, and I understand that. I don't think it's going to be bought by another entertainment company because this park was not developed significantly for over 20 years. It would need a lot of work to keep people going unless it appealed to the locals, as like a cheaper, more financially reasonable option. Maybe it could be saved that way. But a lot of the rides, though, I don't see them being relocated.
But maybe even just like some of the parts out there, they could...
Yeah, well, there's I think any ride that
was... Is there any of those rides in Six Flags America elsewhere in the Six Flags?
Yeah, a few of them. Oh, yeah, a few of them. So some parts can go. I think any ride installation that was there in the past 10 years, and there were a few, they're going to get relocated to other Six Flags parks. But they have a roller coaster themed to Superman. It's an intimate hyper coaster. It's over 200 feet tall. It's a big ride.
Oh, yeah, like the one in New England. Yeah.
Sort of. It's not as good as the one in New England.
But I think the one in New England is themed to Bizarro?
It is back to Superman now.
Oh, it is back to Superman.
But the Superman at Six Flags America... no chance that's getting relocated. It's not in the best shape. like a lot of the rides there. So, is what it is. It's just sad to see a park in a big metropolitan area close because it's usually avoidable.
Yeah. And so, speaking of America, we're going to be able to soar over America soon.
Oh, that
was a nice segue.
That was genius.
This news kind of broke when we were kind of coming back from the cruise, and when we had our cruise discussion last week, we kind of like went right over our heads.
Soaring over America.
So, soaring at Epcot, as well as soaring around the world over in California Adventure, will be rethemed for a limited time to Soarin' Over America.
When we say rethemed, it's just going to be a different film.
Yeah, it will be a different film. They'll obviously have to, readjust how like the gliders move and everything.
Here's my hot take: I don't like Soarin'.
I'm honestly kind of shocked on that because I look. I used to work at Soarin'. Okay, love Soarin'. I think it is such a relaxing ride. That music is just so tranquil, especially when you go back to Over California. That was written by the legendary Jerry Goldsmith, who wrote a lot of
so here's my thing.
Scores.
When we go back to California, I want to ride the one in California Adventure. I want to go in there.
The problem is that there's not that much of a difference.
No, because I want to see the queue. I want the queue. Like, okay, for me, for a ride like Soarin', the queue makes it. Okay, because the film is like...
Do you know anything about the queue for California?
It looks better. It just looks better.
Because it's very short. It's literally just you enter that building, you go down that hallway, and then you're off to the theaters.
But it's an aircraft hangar. It gets you in the mindset, in the mood.
It's more of like a former aircraft hangar turned into a museum.
Okay, for me, we're going to talk flight simulators for a second, okay? All right. For a flight simulator like Soarin', the build-up is, in my opinion, half the battle. Okay? To get there. So, if you have a ride called Soarin' and you're going to be on a hang glider, soaring around the world, California, the country, whatever, right? You need something to get you there, and the queue should do that. It should prepare you for this journey, right? So in California, it looks like, the outside looks like an aircraft hangar, right? The queue looks like you're inside an aircraft hangar turned into a museum, but it's getting you in that nostalgic mood for flight, right? Look at the one in Japan. They went crazy with the theming and the queue and the story on that one.
Oh my god!
Okay, but it pulls you in and it prepares you for the experience of flight. Okay, what does Florida's do? What does Florida's queue do for Soarin'?
Takes you down a long hallway.
A long, bare bones hallway. And I understand somebody said, oh, well, they were inspired by an airport. Well, airports are boring.
That's not
Who likes to be in an airport?
Honestly, that's not inspired by an airport.
No, but
anyone that tries to tell you that is...
Okay, but
himself.
Somebody said that, and my first response is, when have you ever enjoyed being in an airport?
I will also say
like,
this. The front area did kind of look like an airport because, way back when, you used to have like a little check-in counter over there, and that was where you actually went to set up rider switches and everything.
I guess, but they picked the most boring airport.
Yeah.
But Florida's queue doesn't do anything to get you in the mood, to prepare you for flight, until you see Patrick Warburton.
Hey, pal.
And like that video it's okay, but that video even before you get to the pre-flight, something needs to be done to pull me into it, to get me ready for this experience. And Florida just doesn't do anything. And I think when you combine that and then a flight simulator that doesn't actually do much, it doesn't blow you away. Now, when it comes to flight simulators, Soarin' doesn't physically do much. It only has one axis of motion, for example, right? And that would be okay in like California Adventure's version, because you've already won half the battle with the queue and bringing you into the experience. But in Florida, if you're not doing anything to bring you into the experience, you got to go all out with the ride, and it just doesn't. And I think that's my problem with Soarin'. So it doesn't matter what film they slap in there. You have a very dull, boring queue and a ride system that doesn't actually do much. I don't care.
Okay, now what if while we're walking through the queue, instead of hearing that iconic music, by the way, because some of that music is from
No, and the
amazing
music
movies,
is fine.
but
It's the aesthetic.
for Soarin' Across America, what if they keep playing Golden Dream from American Adventure?
But the music is only a part of that. You need something physical to visually draw you in to this experience before you even get to the pre-flight briefing, and ours has nothing.
To a point, they were limited with space because they are using the entrance
The
for
queue
it
area is
Big Rock.
huge. It's huge. It's
But
a
they
big
were limited,
tall ceiling.
They
It's
were
wide.
limited at least right there.
No, but they do literally anything. Anything. It's just a blue wall. Like anything. I'm begging you, please.
Y'all thought my rant was bad about the Hunt for Ben Solo?
I'm sorry, it bothers me as a theme park nerd, and for an e-ticket ride that's in the middle.
It's just, to me, the ride makes up for it.
That's in the.
I will also say the ride makes up for it when you sit in the right spot too.
No, and that's the thing. Like, if you don't sit in the right spot, the view is a word I can't say on here.
Yes. Well, you can. I'm just gonna have to bleep it out.
But
I think that is a huge thing to it as well with Soarin', is that if you get one of those seats all the way on the end and all the way on the bottom, yeah, it's a horrible, horrible experience. But if you get that coveted B1 or also B2 for that matter, you're going to have a great experience.
I guess. I feel like, especially for here and the rides we have at Walt Disney World, all the problems that exist with Soarin' here, they fixed with Flight of Passage.
True.
So why would I ride Soarin'? I'll just go ride Flight of Passage.
Yeah.
For a better experience.
I mean, yeah, and I will say Flight of Passage is definitely probably a better experience, also more thrilling. But you know what
because like if you think about all the issues I just said with Soarin', fixed.
Oh yeah, it's
on
definitely
Flight of Passage.
I will say this. Emotionally to me, I've always loved Soarin' because that was actually my grandmother's favorite ride. When we would take her to the park, she loved it because she loved. It was a thrilling ride, but it was something that she could do. She could sit in that hangar, the hangar thing, and fly around. You know, at the time when she rode it was California.
And my gripe has nothing to do with the actual thrill of the ride. You know, Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland is one of the greatest attractions ever conceived, and it's not really thrilling. You know, but like, it's just. They need to do something with the queue for the Florida version. Yeah. The queue just... And it's like... The queue is also laid out kind of weird, but that was the limitations of the building and where they had to build the theaters. But I just... And then they...
And it's even more weird once they added in the new theater.
The other thing with that is if they added a third theater, they should have just added a fourth one.
They don't need a fourth one. I can guarantee you that. Obviously,
but the building layout would have just made more sense.
I see what you're saying, but in terms of the demand, they only needed one more theater. Because as soon as they added one more theater, that wait time dropped significantly.
Okay, put out more lightning lanes for it. You can always get a lightning lane. You can always put a lightning lane out for Soarin'.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, they can. I think I ran numbers like they can do like, as long as everything's going well, like 1,800 an hour, which is great.
It's okay.
Mind you, when they had two theaters, that was a heck of a lot less. So, but yeah, Soarin' Across America will be debuting next year for the 250th birthday of America. I'm going to safely assume that this is going to probably debut on July 4th. They showed some behind the scenes that it looks like they filmed in front of Mount Rushmore. So that looks kind of cool. So it looks like they're going to go for this nostalgic America.
Hey, Lois, look at me. I'm a booger. For that Family Guy episode. That Family Guy episode when they're on Mount Rushmore running from Mel Gibson. And Peter hangs off of like one of the faces, like the nose. He goes, "Hey Lois, look, I'm a booger."
Oh my gosh! I mean, hey, we own Family Guy, so let's do it. Let's just add them into a sequence there. But I'm excited for it. I July 4th, and only for a limited time as well. So a lot of people are thinking, "Oh, this is going to replace Around the World." Not necessarily. I think this will probably just be around for like a year or something like that, and then we'll get Around the World back, and maybe we can bring back Over California for a little while too.
Hear me out. What if they end up having like 3, 4, or 5 different films for Soarin' at some point, right? That they've made into history. And what if they could, before the ride cycle starts, select the show that's going to play, and they just have, so like say you have 3 queues in the building, for example, right? You can change on the fly based on the length of the queue which show whatever theater's playing.
Or make them more randomized when there's not
I don't want randomized. I don't want them randomized. I would just say if because now they'll have 3 shows, so maybe you have 3 queues in the building, right?
Well, I would even say, yes, that would work too, but I would say only when there's like no line. So I was thinking about this last night. I went to Hollywood Studios last night. I had to ride Star Tours 5 times in order to finally get some new stuff in there. So when I say new stuff, I mean like episodes 7, 8, and 9, instead of the old stuff that's been in there since 2011. I kept thinking to myself, I said, there's so much of the old stuff and so much of the new stuff, and there's 6 cabins here, and they've got a 5-minute wait. I literally walked on every single time. Why not take 3 of the cabins on the right-hand side, make them the old ones, and then the cabins on the left, make them the newer ones. Okay? Yes, you probably couldn't do that when you have a 30 to 45-minute wait, because you probably want to be asking every single family, well, what would you like? Would you like the old stuff or the new stuff? Just kind of like what Mission Space kind of has to deal with asking about less intense or more intense. Soarin', I think, could do that too, if and only if I think the wait time was like 5 or 10 minutes. Because then this way, when you got up to that merge point, you could decide, oh, do I want to go down Concourse A for the California, Concourse B for Around the World, or Concourse C for Across America? But
just
if it was
idea.
a 45-minute wait to an hour wait, it would be, the cast member directing you to which concourse to go to. And even then, like, if it was set up to say, okay, everyone, you're going down to Concourse C for Across America. Everyone down to Concourse C. But I want to go to Over California. I want to go to Around the World. And then you have all these people, like, deviating off. And not really keeping the line management going properly. Could it work? Yes. Would it be a bloodbath? Yes. 100%. So. Well.
Next.
We did pretty well in terms of timing. We were kind of worried.
We're not done yet. We still got things to talk about.
Well, but I'm saying, like, I thought the news segment would only bring us maybe like 20 minutes, but we're doing pretty well.
It's called pacing yourself. I learned that when I was drinking on a cruise anyways.
Yeah, that wasn't pacing. Matt, you have an interesting discussion that you'd like to talk about in terms of the classic Universal Studios. Florida.
Yeah, so yesterday, before work, I was feeling it, so I went to Universal for literally 90 minutes just to do a quick run around before work. And it was... So I started off in Islands of Adventure. I got there at around, like, a little bit before 9. Popped in, did a spin on Spider-Man. Spider-Man's my happy place, as you know. Great ride as always. And what's really neat is talking about classic Universal Orlando, Spider-Man opened in 1999. I was in the first row. There was a couple next to me. And the ride gets done and comes back to unload, and this girl's like, oh my god, that was so good. Like over 25 years later, and it's still impressing. It's still wowing. Truly classic e-ticket attraction. It just blows my mind that a ride still gets those reactions, right? So then I popped over, took a spin on Cat in the Hat because it was right there. It actually looks pretty good. They're taking care of it.
I was going to say, didn't that just go into refurb?
I don't know, but it looks nice.
Okay.
It looks pretty good. Most of the things were working, and it looks good. So then I went and I popped over to Studios. I walked around City Walk. They're going to town on City Walk right now with construction over by Hard Rock.
Because of a certain roller coaster that is completely gone now.
And what might be replacing it. I think it's very obvious that they are replacing this with a very big project because there's new footers everywhere when you look at the aerial views. Anyways, but
I think this is fascinating, though, really quick, though, that they bulldozed Rip Ride, they tore it down, and as they're doing that, they're basically prepping the new roller coaster right away.
They do not screw around.
Right. They're not demolishing this thing, and then 6 months later, okay, now let's start doing this stuff.
My
it
guess
also probably showed that they didn't have to do that much groundwork, too.
Well, you always do, but it's, So I walk into the park. Rocket is completely gone. Anything that you can see over construction walls is gone. And so I walk around. I went on Revenge of the Mummy, and as I come out of Revenge of the Mummy, I have to walk back over to the lockers. I kind of noticed something. There's a particular vibe I felt, and I kind of walked over into the New York area after I got my stuff out of my locker, and I was talking to my friend. And I was standing where that New York Street, the Transformers is, and I wasn't looking at Transformers. I was looking towards the Mummy, but I was standing in the middle of the intersection where you can look down and you can see, like, the firehouse and whatnot towards that way. There's no rocket in the skyline. There's also a lack of kinetic energy in the park because Rocket's not running. And the Mummy is there. The ride's there. It felt very much like 2006 Universal. And this was an interesting time period, and it really took me back to this feeling of classic 90s Universal Studios Florida, just rolling out of the 90s, going into the early 2000s, right? Because Mummy opened in 2004. In this time period, Jaws was still open, right?
Earthquake.
Well, it was Earthquake, and it would soon be turned into disaster. Back to the Future was still operating. Men in Black was new. It opened in 2000.
E.T. was still there and still is today.
E.T.'s there. Jimmy Neutron's Nicktoon Blast. And it was it was a particular energy of the park that it was just different that I hadn't seen in 20 years. Or I hadn't felt that in 20 years. So it's very interesting the difference that Rocket made during that time, because Rocket was built around 2008, opened in 2009.
Yeah, I think it was.
It opened right before Potter did, Potter 1.0, and you got to understand 2006 is before Potter was even started being built over in Hogsmeade, right? And this was not a great time for Universal because they were, Islands had been open, the recession was getting ready to start for 2008, and it was a kind of a stagnant time for Universal, and then Potter opened and made everything better.
No, I remember those days of the classic Universal Studios. I mean, you never had wait times because the park was always empty.
And the wait for Mummy was only 20 minutes, so...
Yeah.
And it wasn't very busy when I was there because the crowd hadn't flooded in yet, and it was not a Horror Nights night, but it just wasn't that busy yesterday. But it was just... Like, in my mind, the feeling I had, Jaws was still right over there, Back to the Future was still over there, In
my mind, Back to the Future is always still over there.
It was very... If you want to feel what the park was like around 2005, 2006, go to the park now.
Until the new roller coaster starts coming up.
Yeah, it's an interesting feeling. It's definitely... I personally, while I miss classic Universal, right, I'm very optimistic about Universal's future. And I can't wait to see what this new ride, what kind of energy it's going to bring back to that area.
It's the nostalgia to the old one.
Yes.
It really is. You know, I mean, I still feel that way about Epcot. You know, walking up to that planter right there and looking towards Mission Space and still believing that Horizons is right there.
Yeah.
Now, granted, never rode Horizons back in the day, but there was something about seeing that massive building, even to me as a child.
Yeah.
And now it's, you know, completely gone, and now it's a smaller building that just doesn't invoke that same amount of awe and wow to it. That, you know, and Universal in those days too, they really didn't have that awe and wow moments until you actually got into the ride. Confrontation is a prime example. You know, you're looking at that building and you just see the banners that say Confrontation, stuff like that.
Well, for Universal Studios Florida, the kinetic energy was the production on the streets.
Right.
Or the actors on the streets, the entertainment. It did.
Because remember, this was Universal's answer to MGM at the time. Disney said, we're going to build this studio where we can do film production at. Universal kind of said, let's do the same thing because we have this successful studio in Hollywood. Let's kind of make that here in Orlando.
You, sir, have your history backwards. Disney's Hollywood Studios was built in response to Universal having interest.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, because
originally the Disney Hollywood Studios was going to be a studio pavilion featuring a great movie ride in Epcot.
But then when they caught wind that Universal was going to be building a park,
they developed it into a park.
Right. Yeah, that was my bad. Yes.
But
strike what I said.
But the kinetic energy came from the production that was happening in the streets, the quote unquote production that wasn't actually happening, but they had actors and everything out there. They had a lot of street
atmosphere. They kind of have that.
They had Universal had a show on the Lagoon too, if I recall correctly. They also had the Beetlejuice show. They had Terminator. They had the Wild 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 West stunt show.
Right.
So they had all these shows that were, you'd be walking around the park, and some of these shows were outside, so you would hear them as you were walking by.
And that kind of brought in kinetic energy.
Right. You would hear every 5 minutes. You would hear and see this big plume of smoke rise up over the back of San Francisco. That was the pyro venting from the earthquake scene.
Or was that Beetlejuice?
No, that was the pyro. No,
this wasn't Beetlejuice, right?
This wasn't Beetlejuice. This was Earthquake.
Okay.
Every time when they vented the smoke from the pyro, there was just smoke would just shoot up over the building. But so now those rides are not here, and those shows aren't really here anymore,
with the exception of E.T.
And especially earlier in the morning, when like the few Streetmosphere shows that are there aren't happening yet, and then you don't have Rocket running. It's just this very quiet.
But I will say this, like, the current atmospheric entertainment that they got there with these Streetmosphere things.
Oh, it's good. I like it. Marilyn Monroe, Scooby-Doo. It's
honestly, they just don't have a good pull, I think.
I think it's good enough. So here's the thing. I always see people with wanting to take pictures, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. So let's also mention this. The morning crowds at both parks, I would say, are the tourists that are here. To a point.
Yes.
I would say the majority are the tourists. Whereas that energy kind of shifts as the day goes on, and you get more of those locals, those annual pass holders that are coming in towards the afternoon and evening. So I've always said this. I feel like the energy when I'm there in the morning is very low, but somehow builds up in the evening. And I'm not talking about like Horror Nights or anything like that. And I'm talking specifically Universal Studios.
Right.
Islands has this energy going all day long.
It does.
Whereas Universal Studios does not. You're walking around, you walk into the park and it's like, cool, I'm in the park. you want to go to Harry Potter? Yeah, let's go to Harry
Well,
Potter.
Islands of Adventure has always been about the kinetic energy in that park.
Right.
That's the adventure part of it.
Because of how that park is laid out, I would say, too.
But it's also the adventure part of it. How can you have something
Right.
adventurous if there's no kinetic energy in the park?
But I
It
think
just
it's
doesn't work.
also how that park is laid out, because you approach that lagoon in Island.
You see everything.
You see everything. You see Marvel. You see Jurassic Park. You can see Hogwarts literally right there, and you're like, and Velocicoaster now too. That's
A
some amazing
Velocicoaster is the
kinetic-
star of the
kinetic
show.
energy, too.
Velocicoaster is the star of the show at Islands right now. Well, and Hagrid's. You know, it's amazing to think you have a ride like Hulk, Spider-Man, Velocicoaster, and Hagrid's in one park.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible to think that they're in one park. And then you got the world-class, the Ripsaw Falls and Popeye and Bluto's that kind of sit on the back burner, but they're two of the best water rides in the world, I
Right.
think.
Right.
It blows my mind that they're in one park. And
But Universal Studios does not have that.
No, it does not
walk
have that
into
kinetic
park
energy.
And you see the Minion stuff right there, which I think pulls those people right away. Also, too, because, oh, well, I'm here. I might as well go to this ride right here because it's there. And then, as of right now, at least, you also see Elphaba and Glinda right there on that building for the Wicked experience.
no one mourns the wicked.
But you don't get to see the rest of the park unless you progress more.
Well, also
out into the
because
park.
it's a studio park, quote unquote, a lot of things are inside. So you don't have that outdoor kinetic energy. You rely on entertainment. But I am very excited to see this, what's obviously going to be a very large ride, most likely a roller coaster, based
It will
on
be a
based on
roller
the aerial photographs that we've seen and the photo work that they're doing in the prep work. I am interested to see how it's going to interact with the park,
Yeah.
or how it won't,
I mean, also, too,
because most of the work looks backstage.
for those of you out there that don't really know what's taking over, remember how I've always said on this podcast, why build one when you can build two at twice the price? What are they building in Hollywood right now? And we'll leave it at that.
Also, talking about Hollywood's new edition, kind of swinging into that real quick. Testing is well underway. It looks pretty exciting, honestly. So if that is something
If
that we might be
that's-
getting,
If that's what's coming, okay, let's look. Have you seen the roller coaster that they have in Japan, the Hollywood Dream? Have you seen this one?
we were supposed to get it. The rumor is we were
That's-
supposed to get it.
Okay, but if that was going to be the thing, awesome, cool. I still believe that whatever roller coaster replaces Rip Ride cannot be localized to just that one stretch right there. If you want to truly have this be we talk about kinetic energy here, let it go all over that section like Hollywood Dream does. Hollywood Dream goes out towards where the horror makeup show is.
Hold on. The kinetic energy is going to be out on City Walk too.
And which is what you had with Rip Ride too.
No, I mean, have you seen the construction walls?
No.
They're doing a lot of work. So they've significantly narrowed down the pathway between Hard Rock and Studios.
Well, for now, because of the construction, I would guess.
But there's a lot of prep work going on between that path now and the water. This thing is going to...
I mean,
go right
it
up
could
to the
go a
water.
little bit further out there this time? Sure, why not? Let it go out towards the water a little bit. But at the same time, this should also kind of go out into the park a little bit.
I don't want it to. I don't think I want it to. I think maybe doing something separate in Central Park would be a good idea. You know? Or maybe if they could work out a daytime show on the lagoon to do from Central Park. Maybe that'll give it the
They were
kinetic
doing
energy.
that at one point, too. Because they were, like, running the water fountains or whatever. I think this was right when we came back from COVID. Was they were running the water fountains and just playing, like, the Jaws music, the Back to the Future music.
Yeah.
All that
But
stuff.
maybe they could do like a proper daytime show. Just keep doing things to get that kinetic energy around the park.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I think it's just, again, the problem is that park layout. It's so hard to pull people. I mean, I can't imagine how many, tourists that have no idea where anything is. But they know that Harry Potter exists in that park. So they walk into that park. Where's Harry Potter? Well, it's all the way in the back of the park. Well, should I go this way? Should I go that way? Well, yeah, I mean, you can make the right, but you're going to go all the way to the very... It's like Hollywood Studios. That park is laid out so poorly in terms of the natural flow that you should have. You know, I truly believe that, like, you know, the hub and spokes design that you have in the Magic Kingdom or Disneyland, and even Epcot to that matter too, those work significantly well. Because it says, pull you in, you know, in the theme park industry we have the term pulling you up and bringing you up to that big iconic weenie. Yes. I just
wanted to say weenie
when I heard that when I took theme park and attraction management for the
That's what Walt always called it. Walt called it the weenie.
Yep, Walt called it the weenie. But yes, you have that with the Magic Kingdom, is that, wow, you look at that castle, and it's drawing me to that castle. By the time I get to that castle, I say to myself, wow, that's beautiful. Oh, look at all these lands that are around me. Now I know, well, where do I want to... Do I want to go into the land of adventure, the land of tomorrow, the land of fantasy? I don't know where I want to go first. And it's that deciding factor. Whereas Universal and Hollywood Studios, for that matter, it's literally just walk right in and you've got that. Hollywood Studios at least has that weenie, which is the Chinese theater. So it pulls you towards the Chinese theater. But once it pulls you up to the Chinese theater, you're kind of missing a little bit of the park by going down Sunset Boulevard to Rock Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror. Now, granted, Tower of Terror could also be considered a weenie because it could pull you down that way later on.
Well, it
because you see
does.
That tower.
If you look at Sunset from the hub of Hollywood Studios, you see Tower of Terror.
Right. But Universal does not have this.
No, they don't in that park.
Universal Studios, you walk in, and it's like, okay, well, where do I... Well, okay, you got this ride, Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem. Okay, let's go there. Because it's right there. And then even then, when you get off of that ride, it's like, well, where do I go now? You know? It's just... It's a poor layout.
The question is, what do we do with the studio park that is obsolete in its concept because DVDs have special features and tell you how movies are made? That's what you do with it. That's the dilemma. What do we do with this studio park?
I disagree with that for one reason. Universal Studios Hollywood still works very well.
Well, because it's an actual studio.
Because it is an actual working studio. I get what you're saying. A studio's park cannot work unless it has that actual production value to it. That is why Hollywood Studios worked very well in 1989, was because it was an actual working studio. Same thing with Universal Studios Florida in 1990. It was a working studios. I remember Nickelodeon Studios. They filmed a lot of those shows back then there. But now, there's nothing going on there. Sometimes there is something over at studios. You know, I know like Jimmy Fallon sometimes does taping over there still. Sometimes they'll do like the... I don't know, don't they like usually do WWE or something like that in one of the sound studios?
The SmackDown.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't follow that. So.
I'm not into wrestling, but yeah,
they do. Hollywood Studios hasn't had a production there in years. I mean, their sound stages are literally nothing.
Well, their sound stages are Toy Story Mania.
Lines. Yeah,
their sound stages are literally Toy Story Mania.
Right. But yes,
they only had 3 sound stages there.
True. But if you were to bring back that concept with the actual production value to it, I think it would still work. Especially to a lot of... I know this is very successful for Hollywood. Hollywood gets a lot of the Asian tourists going there because they love that. They love that behind the scenes and learning how these movies are made.
Well, it's not
That's why they love doing the backlot tour.
It's not even I don't even think it's so much like being a working studio helps, but I think it's the history that's happened there and the history that continues to happen there.
And to that point too, you know, you've done the Warner Brothers Studio Tour. You know that as well.
That's because the Warner Brothers Studio Tour for me, it's the history of it. Like,
it's realizing what has been filmed there,
yeah.
and then taking you in. I mean,
we didn't get a chance to do it the first time that we did that studio tour. But when we did it with you guys, and they took us inside that soundstage.
That's where they filmed the Casablanca scene.
Right, they filmed Casablanca there. They filmed the Ascot race from My Fair Lady in there. And most recently they were filming Young Sheldon in there. It's incredible just what was going on in that one soundstage and just feeling the history of that. That's why that production thing needs to take place in a studio's park.
But the question is, Universal Studios Florida is not that anymore. What do you do with it? It's the same. It's the same dilemma we discussed way back when with Hollywood Studios. Right. It's the same dilemma.
I think it's that notion of IP. It's throwing as much IP in there as we can, so then this way we have that relatability to the movies. The idea in 1989 and 1990 with MGM and Universal respectively was that it was discover the movies, learn about the movies. Now they have to go into the concept of live the movies, experience the movies. That should be like the new slogan. Where else can you go onto a Star Destroyer and escape the First Order? Where else can you join Harry Potter and break out of Gringotts?
You know what I would like to happen? I'm just thinking about this for the future of Universal Studios Florida. You know how they recently created the Minions Land? I predict, and this is just totally out of my hat, if and when Simpsons goes,
which will probably be soon,
Kang and Kodos, Twirl and Hurl, gets moved over to Rocket Plaza, where the stage is, rethemed, and that area becomes Super Silly Funland. Because it is likely that it will have a roller coaster backdrop as well to that area.
But what if that roller coaster is not Minions themed?
Doesn't matter. It's a roller coaster, Super Silly Funland, it fits.
Yeah.
And that will I think that would actually kind of round out the Minions area pretty nicely. Kind of like Hollywood has.
Yeah, because I think
Hollywood
truly made Minions Land right. And it also kind of blended in with Illumination because you have the Secret Life of Pets there too. Whereas Universal Orlando, they did the best they could with the space that they had for Minions. And they tried. They really did. I don't think it flows the right way. It needs one more thing. Well, and it might be that, Super Silly Funland.
In theory, right behind Rocket Plaza are all the sound stages. They could throw a facade up and have Secret Life of Pets over there too. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It's possible. Well, anyway, guys.
We made it an hour.
Yeah, we made it an hour. Yeah. Congratulations. And it was a good discussion. That was very good.
Pulled a rabbit out of the hat. You're welcome.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys. Thank you all for, again, tuning in for this week's episode of the Theme Park Land podcast. Be sure to tune in next time. Don't know what we're talking about next week, but I don't know.
We might spin this off and talk about the deep dive in Universal Studios. Maybe. Did we already do that?
I think we did.
Oh, yeah. No. I need to look at the episodes.
Oh, boy. We're forgetting what we did with previous episodes.
I will figure out something. We've had a very busy work week. And I, in particular, have not had a lot of time to think about anything else this week except work.
Yep.
So.
And happy Halloween coming up to anyone that truly celebrates it. Because Friday is Halloween. That means Saturday, Merry Christmas.
I thought all the candy went on sale.
Well, yeah, that too, but
okay.
November 1st also means Christmas season begins, especially here in
Have you been to a hardware store? Christmas starts in August.
Actually, yeah. We've been to Costco for several months now, and literally they started putting up their Christmas stuff in August, the same time they put up the Halloween stuff. And I'm like, guys, really? Come on. All All right, guys. Again, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with you again next time for another episode of the Theme Park Land podcast. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye, everybody.